Hi, good afternoon. This is Jan Attard to introduce to you J. Oliver Maxwell, LLC, and the Attard methodology. In the next half hour or more, I will not only explain why J. Oliver Maxwell, but the purpose and the passion behind the Attard methodology. So let's start. First of all, I'm Jan Attard, and it is such an honor to be here. It's an honor to be on YouTube and share with people not only from the United States, but from all over the world. I'm a New Jersey girl, somehow ended up in Northern California. I've been to Malta, been some places around the world, would love to go more. But the concepts I share are not singular to one place, they are universal. And so I care, I share, I have passion to do it, and I'll share with you why the Attard methodology is so important right now. I'm a nurse of 40 years. 20 years into my nursing career, I decided the law and justice would be important. And coupled with that, after a divorce, I needed to learn about finance. So the rest of my life is focused on caring for caregivers, finding a way to join one-on-one with each caregiver, make them more full, empower them, provide them the accountability tracker. We work so hard at the hospital, sometimes 16-hour shifts, that it leaves no time to know how to care for ourselves. So that's truly what this is all about. The letters to editors, the letters to publishers, the book, the manuscript I'm writing. So I'm titling my white paper, Caring for the Caregiver, the Attard methodology, to maximize resilience, financial know-how, and professional legacy building for every single caregiver, and that's why I'm here today. My manuscript explores a critical and under-addressed issue in modern healthcare. Healthcare professionals are rarely prepared for the personal, financial, and other issues that just shape everyday healthcare. And so with that said, I'm here to make sure that we grow every single caregiver and make sure that they're better at who they are and what they're capable of being. Research on caregivers indicates they are often underprepared to manage their own finances, which results in depression and the failure to create a legacy plan. I will share with you different case studies that explore this kind of situation. And I will draw on my more than 4 decades of experience in high-risk maternal infant care to talk about how that has affected me going through a divorce, going through the many stages of my life where my self-image came out of working the next double and the next double versus growing my own legacy plan so that I was resilient long term. So for all of you, there is no real intended audience. I say the medical and dental community, nurses, and all healthcare workers, which is just about anyone because we all care for others. Early career physicians, early career small business owners, and with that, everyone out there. So whatever you vividly imagine and truly believe will come to pass. Let's move on. So again, as I've said before, the Attard methodology, caring for the caregiver. I am mission focused and this is a journey. So I'm taking you through the beginnings of a journey in order to accomplish what you want. Napoleon Hill always says auto-suggestion. So we're going to fill our minds with what we want in life and how we want to accomplish it. So if you set your goal for 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year, everyone who comes and speaks with me, we start with a dream. We start with a goal. Nothing else. It's not about money. Just where do you want to be in 1 year, in 5 years? If I see you in a year and you haven't gone any further, what is this journey all about? And do you really want what you say you want? because in order to get where you want to go, one has to plan and one has to be deliberate. So about me, I think I've said it before, but I will say it again. 40 plus years at the bedside, it shows, you can see it. 20 years as a private client group financial advisor with UBS in San Francisco and a number of other firms, loving the market, loving protection and everything protection does, teaching, mentoring, supporting the growth of a portfolio, much like a tree. We grow each branch, we get disciplined. It's not easy, but we try at the end of the day to save 20 or 30% of our income. I am mission driven. I decided one day, and against my children's advice, to buy a farm. Most people said, "You're crazy." I bought the farm. I've grown the farm. I have 200 olive trees and a couple acres of grapes, and I'm not done. I love justice and everything that justice stands for. At the end of the day, it's all about family, legacy planning, and sustainability. When I hear that a dear friend of mine whose husband died didn't have the plan, or the plan was not written in both of their names, or another friend who died of cancer, and it was just way too early for effective planning to happen. So plan early, plan often, and when you think I'm crazy when I suggest that you get yourself a whole life policy when your baby's born, that's me. That's me. You'll set that child up for college, have cash, have the growth of a bank account, and learn something, as well as the S&P 500. If we'd all bought Apple stock or Nvidia when it first started trading, how much more comfortable would we be? So more discussion comes. So my methodology, and that's funny, but I was walking with my labs one day around the exterior of my farm, and it just came to me, and I said, how profound, but also how crazy. Why would I name something the Attard methodology? Well, Mr. Attard came from a very strong background of farmers and educators on the island of Gozo, Malta. And he always said, I'm going to change you, Jan. I'm going to change you. And as the New Jersey girl I was, with a credit card in my hand, and a mom used to take me to Bergdorf Goodman's for shoes when I was 15, I'm like, nobody's changing me. And all he meant to say, but he didn't say it quite the same way that I accepted it in my mind. All he meant to say is, I love you, I love our family, and I really want to save. Because now Mr. Attard's in Malta building condo after condo after condo and gifting my sons with the wealth of the world. So save. Protection before production. Sustainability of your family. Leave a legacy, excuse me. Be accountable. Be resilient and strong, and I will stress that all the time. Structure. Financial literacy and long-term planning. Right now I am doing pilot programs with medical schools and dental schools and nursing schools and enforcing some kind of offered education and financial planning, giving students who have $200,000 or $300,000 worth of debt an opportunity before they just go into the OR and the residencies demand of them, 60-hour, 70-hour work weeks, being accountable to learning how to put aside that 20 or 30%. So my private advisory group that I have sessions with and accountability groups with, they're made up of physicians, nurses, dentists, attorneys, families, small businesses, professional families that grow wealth are phenomenal because they know how to do it and they're accountable to each other. Everything, of course, like a good expert witness, is all confidentially based. Has nothing to do with sharing this information. You don't have to know what your neighbor's doing or whether they're buying the latte or not. But it's all about setting you on a track to success. And if you think this is hogwash, that's fine. All I need is one or two or three people that are willing and able to listen and say, I want my life to be different, and I'm willing to start today. So it's easy once you begin, because once you know that you don't need that $500 dinner or that $400 bottle of wine, and you know that you don't need that expensive dress, and maybe you can get one that's cute and cheap, you start finding ways to enjoy life on a very different plane. So what I do is I aim to teach and mentor, and I do it on a couple of platforms. I start with eMoney. I start with a platform called Riskalyze, which is now Nitrogen Wealth. I start with something called Exit Mapping or Asset Mapping, and I grow people one branch at a time. So I always start with protection. And why would I start with protection, my dear friends? Well, when I first became a stockbroker, it was in 1998, and all the doctors that were my best friends were quitting medicine because they were going to become millionaires trading stocks. And that was the start, or actually closer to the end of the dot-com era. But every time you turned around and you traded a stock, you gained 60,000. It was almost like candy. And we didn't know, we didn't think. And when we learned technical analysis and momentum and everything gapped, we always thought it gapped higher. So we always thought we were invincible until it wasn't. Until one day, Preston Burchard, my client who called me Excelsior, because he said, Jan, you always make things go up. And he was phenomenal. But he came to me, he went to Stanford, and he said, Jan, don't you see? Because we all went to technical analysis classes at Golden Gate University. He said, Jan, don't you see the market is turning? And the candles, some days we'd close on a low with larger volume. And unfortunately, at the beginning, I'll be very honest with you, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to recognize it because the rest of my doctors were like, keep trading, let's keep trading. So it was a very hard reality when at the end of the day, in April of 2000, the market turned and we all thought it would march right back on up again, but it didn't. It kept on its downward pursuit. So it was down 70, 60, 70%. Horrendous. A nurse who always saves lives, seeing such decimation of people's finances. It brought me speechless, and I'm still speechless today. You can tell. So where do I start? I start with protection planning. And on many levels, many people don't understand this because insurance is foreign to the regular stockbroker. But protection on many levels is amazing. For many people I know, unfortunately, who have gotten cancer, many women friends, to protect for the young family and to have the insurance place, or somebody who got into a tragic accident. Protection is life-changing. It is family-changing. For the dentist who starts their practice and breaks their arm, to be aware of disability management, so to have a disability plan, to have a retirement structure in place at the beginning, just because, but for the long term, for a really good reason. Stress is devastating. Wellness is imperative. Those of us that live with hemorrhages, hypertensive crises, HIE, encephalopathy of the newborn, many, many things. We live with things where we are given the responsibility to make sure babies are stable. And to this end, many a healthcare professional who deals with this kind of stress and responsibility as a super god each day sometimes gets plagued with immunological things. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's phenomenal. It actually talks more about trauma induced trauma from youth, but it's also trauma at the bedside. Trauma from working 16-hour shifts for 30 years because one thinks that that's the only way after a divorce to get through life. And I'll hold myself accountable to that. When my kid says, "Mom, you were never there. You were always at the hospital," which unfortunately is true. So I take personal responsibility in this tape and in this session to hold myself accountable and tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. Put your family first. Start early. Don't be the one they laugh at. Be the one that they laud because you have gotten yourself into a position where you become strong. And once you start affecting a path like this, it becomes easy. What does Warren Buffett say? The first 100,000 is the hardest. And after that, it's much, much easier. So I think that Warren Buffett says it well. And we can still listen to him, thank goodness, today. I think that financial sustainability for all the caregivers of the world, all the people in the hospital, all the people in the clinics, all the people working small businesses, is so, so important. With taxes going up, with people being encouraged to go on long vacations, which is great because for wellness, we need to do that. But sometimes mental vacations, reading a book, Audible is phenomenal. In future sessions with you, I'll probably mention an Audible book or two. There's so many good books. And I have found that in the stage of my manuscript, as I unfortunately or fortunately try to utilize the resources of the world, which include AI, I know that I need to have my own voice. So more on that later. So we're going to move on, and I'm going to let you listen to something, and hopefully this plays the way I want it to.
Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're tackling something the healthcare industry almost never talks about. We're introducing a completely non-negotiable architectural framework designed to secure your financial and professional survival. Medical professionals are highly trained to save the lives of others, right? Yet they are almost never given the structural systems required to sustain their own lives. Well, we're going to change that right now. Now, right up front, let's just get a necessary disclaimer out of the way. The clinical and financial case studies we're going to explore today, they are hypothetical. But, and this is crucial, they are highly representative scenarios drawn from decades of real-world practice. We use these structured examples to ensure compliance and maintain your trust, all while illustrating the very real vulnerabilities clinicians face literally every single day. All right, so let's dive right in with a massive question. Ask yourself, what protects you if you cannot work? I know, it's intense, but this is probably the most critical question missing from all your medical training. It's intended to bypass your natural defenses and expose a massive structural gap. Because, let's be honest, if you don't have a concrete answer to this question, you are entirely exposed. Section 1. The Caregivers Paradox. Excellence in crisis versus vulnerability in life. To really understand this paradox, let's look at Sarah. She's a highly capable clinician. In the hospital, she is totally in her element. Picture her taking decisive action, leading a neonatal resuscitation, stabilizing an incredibly unstable infant while managing a hemorrhaging mother. She manages incredible risk in real time. But here's the catch. This clinical brilliance is starkly contrasted by a massive hidden financial exposure at home. She has no disability insurance and absolutely no coordinated estate plan. If an emergency strikes, the brilliant commander is entirely vulnerable. Section 2. The unprotected path, when life intervenes. So what actually happens when the person who's used to managing the crisis suddenly becomes the crisis? Let's say Sarah gets into a severe car accident and cannot work for 12 months. The event is exactly the same for both paths you see here. On the unstructured path, it's just a total collapse, reactive decisions, compounding debt, and immense burnout. But check out the structured path. Because early protection, like disability insurance, was secured, the decisions are completely planned out, financial clarity is maintained, the exact same accident is converted from a life-altering catastrophe into a managed, temporary interruption. Listen, if you're finding yourself relating a bit too much to that unstructured side right now, I need you to hear this. This is not a personal failing. You are highly educated, you're incredibly capable. This vulnerability is actually a structural deficiency of the medical education system itself. You are simply never taught how to care for yourself with the exact same discipline you apply to your patients. Section 3, a finite resource, the oxygen mask principle. You know, the whole culture of medicine basically conditions you to put patient care above absolutely everything else. But here is the reality check. You are a finite resource. You absolutely require a personal survival plan. Think of it as your own oxygen mask. It boils down to this core concept. Production without protection is exposure. Sure, you can grind and pick up extra shifts, but without a protective structure, you are exposed to a single stroke of bad luck. You simply cannot sustain others if you do not protect yourself first. Section 4, the architectural plan, moving from agitation to solution. Okay, so we know the vulnerability is real, but how do we actually fix it? Well, we build a concrete blueprint to permanently resolve this exposure. This is formalized in what's known as the Attard methodology. It's a remarkably sturdy, foundational structure designed to seamlessly integrate your rigorous clinical discipline with precise financial stewardship. It basically gives you a system for your life that matches the powerful systems you use in the hospital. Section 5. The 6 pillars, building your survival blueprint. This methodology relies on a strict sequential framework. You really can't just skip ahead. We break the whole shebang down into 6 distinct pillars: awareness, protection, sustainability, stewardship, growth, and finally, legacy. This specific sequence is the blueprint that guides a professional from the initial realization of their exposure all the way to a lasting intergenerational impact. So the first pillar is awareness, really recognizing those systemic gaps we talked about. But awareness has to instantly trigger pillar 2, which is protection. We're talking about putting up immediate firewalls here, securing critical disability insurance early on to protect your absolute greatest asset, which is your future earning potential. It also means building up emergency cash reserves, because honestly, liquidity creates decision space. It totally prevents you from making desperate choices when life inevitably happens. All right, once you're protected, you move right into sustainability. This is your ongoing oxygen mask, putting structured recovery protocols in place to actively fight off burnout. And then comes stewardship. This is the pivot where you stop just reacting to your crazy schedule and start actively managing your resources and your career trajectory. You start making really intentional decisions about where and exactly how much you work. Finally, the whole framework culminates in growth and legacy. Growth requires really disciplined investing. And hey, if you're a private practice owner, having a solid grasp on your business valuation. And legacy, that ensures your life's work doesn't just evaporate. It's all about intentional continuity planning and the tax-efficient transfer of your wealth and your core values to the next generation. Section 6, saving your future, the ultimate financial oath. As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to tie your clinical mission directly back to your personal duty. You know, you took an oath to do no harm to your patients. Well, it is high time to apply a financial oath to yourself and to your family. Remember this: your career will save lives. Your plan will save your future. You are an incredibly valuable resource, but you absolutely need structure. So I'll leave you with this final thought. You have dedicated your entire life to sustaining others. Will you finally build an architectural plan that sustains you? Start today. Welcome
So
to this.
that was so great. And I really like, as a backdrop, using Notebook LM to help me visualize certain things when especially I'm new at this, and I'm trying to communicate with all of you in a way that's passionate, driven by purpose versus anything else. So I just want to pause here a minute and say I am a nurse first and foremost. So my gut, my being is all about helping people. So I just would love it if any of you would reach out to me, almost like, well, just yeah. And I'll leave at the end something where you can do that. So back to, excuse me, some case studies. And then I'm going to take time to walk my puppies, my labs, after this. So number 1, and these are actually not, they're fictional stories, but parts of them possibly over the 50 years are true. So let's just be on with it. And I am approachable, by the way. So please, I very much look forward to talking to many of you. And if any of you have connections with medical schools or dental schools, for me to go and do a pilot project to help. I wish when I went to Georgetown, they'd offered a financial fitness course. I wish when I went to Golden Gate Law School, I mean, just anything on financial planning would have been helpful. Yeah, so let's get back to case studies. A very excited medical student comes out of medical school with 250,000 in debt. So no safety net, and starts working in the OR as a resident. And the stress is high, and suddenly he injured himself. What are we going to do here? There is no safety net. So what do we do? These cases aren't talked about because we just need to push on. And we need the on-call doc to save the day, the bleeder, the hypertensive crisis. So think about that. Think about that, please. Another person open to learning but unsure where to start because he doesn't know anything about financial planning. He met with me with a little bit of reluctance and slowly began saving, and small steps ended up protecting his life when it mattered most. So he did get a policy. He did open up an account and fill it with 5% of S&P 500 from 22. It makes a difference. It makes a difference, and we talk about that later. We utilize eMoney as a base and to graphs and trends and projections. Again, the gentleman or the lady only wanted guidance. So I provided the guidance so that she could understand protection and began to save slowly. And so these very critical choices became the reason she or he survived a life-changing moment. Another individual arrived with questions and doubts, and I was able with my team to show this individual a simple way to protect himself. So by saving little by little, not knowing that one day these early choices would one day save his life. So I always live by one mantra. I remember second year at Georgetown, my mother said, "No, Jan, you got no money. You can't stay in DC for the summer." But I vowed I could do it. And I got a job with Global Industries selling encyclopedias door to door. And he handed us a book, and it was called Think and Grow Rich. And the book was whatever you vividly imagine and truly believe will come to pass. And I learned the script, and I learned how to close doors. So getting people to commit. Well, I'm not going to force anyone to commit, but I do want to change your life, and I do want to make your life better. If you read about the Roosevelts, if you read about the Vanderbilts, they used money very, very differently, or the Kennedys, or the Musks. But remember one thing, you have one life, one incredible life, and one ability to make it a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal life. So I'm not going to say that my life is perfect. I'm not going to say that I've done my journey exactly right, but I'm going to say that I'm going to encourage you all to make little changes. So what does that mean? It means protect, create a foundation like a base of a tree when you plant the tree in the ground, grow. You're going to feel differently. You're going to act differently, and I'm going to feel that in you because we get to 1,000 very quickly, and then we get to 2,000, and then you understand the reason for the whole life policy, and you understand why we put away 30% a year. Then we're going to grow, and then we're going to preserve with integrity, with knowledge, with stewardship and empowerment. And then your family will be whole, and then you can make a decision to slow down and have peace and prosperity all at the same time. So at the end of the day, I hear my puppies barking in the distance, my two labs. So J. Oliver Maxwell again is named after my sons, J for Jonathan, who is now in Boston doing exactly what he was passionate to do when he went to college. Alexander is playing music all over the world. And Ian is either playing golf or shooting the best of photography. So to you, my friends, I bid you a wonderful day, and I will repeat again, whatever you vividly imagine and truly believe will come to pass. There is my QR code. Please call upon me to help you. It has been half an hour, and with that, I will end it, and I wish you and bid you a very good day. Whatever you vividly imagine and truly believe, may it come to pass, and may all the joy of the world be yours.